Hi, my name is Kim McMillon, and I want to welcome you to the poetry series of interviews on the 44th Annual Northern California Book Awards nominees. Today, I'm interviewing Maw Shein Win, whose poetry collection, Percussing the Thinking Jar, was nominated in the poetry category, along with the poetry of 40 Pillars by Armand Devodian, Chochilla's Elegy, Great Name by Christian Goulet, Septet for the Luminous Ones by Fahima Efe, Woke Up No Light by Layla Motley, and I Love Hearing Your Dreams by Matthew Zapruder. So you're in great company,
I
you
certainly
know,
am.
just really excellent company. I wanted to ask you, how did it feel when you found out that you were nominated? Because it's such a wonderful thing to happen.
Oh, such a delight, such a surprise. I was having dinner with Tom, my husband, and my phone went beep. And I saw the message from Poetry Flash that I was one of the nominees, and I'm just absolutely honored and so thrilled. And yeah, just I remember moving to San Francisco in the 90s. And, one of the reasons, I moved to the Bay Area was for poetry. I mean, probably the main
Yes,
reason. And
I
poetry,
understand.
yeah, Poetry Flash is such, a part of Bay Area and California uh, poetry history.
You're absolutely right. I moved to the Bay Area in the 70s, and I was walking in BART and I saw Poetry Flash, and I went crazy. The idea coming from a small town that there was this beautiful poetry magazine that showcased just brilliant, brilliant writers. And so to be nominated, I agree. It is such an honor, such an honor. And I want to tell the folks a bit about you because your background is just amazing, amazing. Ma Shane Wynn's latest full-length poetry collection is Percussing the Thinking Jar by Omnidawn. Her previous full-length collection, Storage Unit for the Spirit House, once again, I love that title, was also by Omnidawn, and it was longlisted for the PEN American 2021 OpenBook Award. She is the inaugural Poet Laureate of El Cerrito. The 2025 Berkeley Poetry Festival Lifetime Achievement and the recipient of the 2025 Nomadic San Francisco Foundation Literary Award for Nonfiction. She teaches poetry in the MFA program at USF and in the Low Residency MFA program at Dominican University, along with Dawn Angelicca, Barcelona, and Mary Volmer. She's a co-founder of Maker, Mentor, Muse, a literary community. That is some heavy background.
Mhm.
Uh, be, and I want to make sure I say to our listeners, if you want to see this magnificent poet, please come to the Northern California Book Awards on Saturday, September 6th at 2 p.m. at the San Francisco Main Library, 100 Larkin Street in San Francisco. And it's near the Civic Center BART station. So you can just, BART in, but it's well worth it. It's free to the public, and there's also a reception after the awards where you can meet the authors as well as purchase their books and get to find out their stories. It's just a wonderful event. Now, I'm so excited. You're going to actually read some of your poetry. Am I correct?
Yes, yes. Thank you
Great, great.
for that intro. I'm
Oh,
going to
my
read
pleasure.
three poems from Percussing the Thinking Jar.
Beautiful.
The first one is Thought Log. Swinging on an old rope from the edge of a cliff, a lit up room, a giant X covered in sequins. Gone lawns, fan crowns, drone town. An orange ceramic swallow from Portugal. My love's laughter from the study. Reimagine cures. Amber nimbus, ochre hawks, spring shambles. I believe in the healing power of crystals. They thought my hair had turned white due to pandemic stress. My sinuses are being occupied. I feel lonely, and then I don't. I eat another bowl of kitchery, the bits of ginger. Sorry fabric, mild steel, jade traps. What are we in for? The somatic therapist leads us on a guided visualization through a sacred grove. I swim in a field of pathogens. And the
That's
title,
beautiful.
thank you. And the title of this poem is Finches. In the dream, the body runs from fire, throws on a cape, dashes through the door. The body heads for the hills, overheard at a party, head for the hills. An ambulance speeds by, blur of rust. Body informs mind, emergency. Body tries to soothe mind, breathe. Body sees a mother in a glass tank. Water on the floor and feet cold. Sometimes I forget I have a body. A therapist once said that I did not have holes in my energy field. My ex, however, had many. In the dream, I have powerful legs. My eyes are alert. I fly over burning hills and flash floods, leap over hospitals and shuttered stores. My body delivers a message. Drink 3 bottles of ginger water. My mother's body needs a walker, a hospital bed. She reads in her dreams. In the body of the dream, I am swimming. A deep lake surrounded by firs and ferns. Water soothes the mind, her body on a blanket of warm grass. Books turn pages on their own. Finches sleep in fiddleheads. And my last poem is The Thinking Jar. The Thinking Jar. An antelope asleep in the wood. I shop for peanut brittle online, violet strings, a muscle prediction, an airport therapy session or a clue, to find sea urchins in the bow blue. I draw with blood these days, a pile of pink shells. I am a dram of neurotic fixes, a hatchling in the parlor, fingerling in the hot oil, fire ant eyes. I drop a shock of wicked white hair to the floor. A blackbird lands on the thinking jar. Wonder if I can swim from the Isle of Elderberry.
I love it. I feel like if you could meditate with your poetry.
Thank you.
It brings up so many different worlds and so much of that which is unconscious, and it comes before you, and it gets you to thinking. Like I noticed you have themes of hair,
Yes.
and did your hair truly turn white during COVID, or is that a
Well, yes, it grew in. And I thought since, it's going to be home all the time, perfect time to let it all grow out.
I love it. There is something about you that reminds me of like a medicine woman,
Oh,
a person that goes into the forest, brings back herbs and tells people how to use them. And perhaps in some form, your poetry is herbs,
oh,
telling how to look at life, you know,
you-
and not to be afraid of that part of us that dreams, that is willing to open up to our unconscious. And so, could you tell me about the process of your finding your voice in those poems? What did you just sit down one day and say, this is what I'm going to do? I'm going to write poems that people can actually come into.
well, I mean, I would actually describe the process as being rooted in journaling. So, I've kept journals on and off all my life since I was very young, like many writers, and especially during pandemic lockdown, I
Right.
just kept writing and writing. I had
Wonderful.
journals going on in different categories, like dreams and nightmares and overheard language and uh, thoughts and observations. And I
Beautiful.
kept writing and writing and writing. And then after a while, I started writing poems, from some of these, journals. And I realized after looking through some of these journals that I was also subconsciously like writing in these patterns, like paired juxtapositions of threes. And I found that kind of interesting because it wasn't like actually very intentional. Like I'm going to write in patterns of threes, twos and threes. But I realized later when I was, uh, rereading, going over the journals that I was doing that. And so
Yes.
after a while, I thought that I would create a form called the thought log. So hence the first poem. I have about,
Yes.
I don't know, 20 thought logs in my book. And then it kind of led to other types of logs like log thoughts and sleep logs, blood pressure logs, etc.
Just, and it leads into my other question. If you were going to describe your poetry, someone who has never read your poetry, would you say that? Would you say to them, oh, these are thought logs? So it's what comes into my head. Or so what would you say to that person?
Um, Sound is very important to me in my writing. And I am always constantly reading my lines aloud, like after I write drafts,
Mm.
different drafts,
Yes,
because I think listening is so important um,
yes,
in poetry. And so I would say that, playing with sound, you know, listening, um, musicality and rhythm is probably one of the main features. I also have some recurring themes, like health and healing. In this book, particularly aging and dying, passing on, uh, and art and music. So these are some of the dreams and nightmares. You brought up dreams.
yes.
Um, and yeah, so I guess I would say that. And and then, talking about the thought logs. So um, yeah, I just really enjoyed the process of invention and creating forms. Oh,
And it shows. It shows so beautifully. Um, I'd like to also ask you, like, I really do love your book titles. When I saw spirit houses, I remembered reading about spirit houses, and I thought, oh my God, storage unit for the spirit house. Can you tell us the origins of that title?
for sure. So That was my book previous to Percussing the Thinking Jar,
Right.
also one wonderful Omnidawn. So at the time that I was working on that book, I was spending a lot of time in storage units because I was in the
Oh,
process of moving
yeah.
from, our old house in Berkeley to, well, actually to a year of, house sitting and living in different places until, we landed in El Cerrito, luckily.
Yes.
And so I started writing these poems around the idea of storage units and containment. And then it kind of expanded to, malls and hospitals and restaurants and just, different forms of contain. Oh, and also like sky and earth and trees, thinking of those as, kind of containers of
Yes.
spirit. But I knew that there was something that was missing when I was working on it. And then I started thinking about the spirit houses in Southeast
Yes.
Asia, and particularly in Burma, where my family is from. And you know, I was raised Buddhist, and I thought about those spirit houses, and I started researching, like just kind of delving into, what the spirit houses are about and the Nat spirits. And I wrote, spirit house poems that essentially like open each section or close. And
Yes.
so I was trying to think of a title, and I have to say, titles really difficult for me. I and I go through so many. And so, for that book, I was like storage unit, and other poems, like kind of not really that interesting. And Tom, maybe because he's a musician, he's a drummer, just, I don't know, just has this wonderful ear for rhythm and music. And so he said, "What about storage unit for the spirit house?"
It's wonderful.
And I was like, yes, that's it. So that's how the title came to be.
It's such because it makes you think. The idea, and I've always loved reading about spirit houses. And so to put the two together, it's just it's a wonderful title, as well as a wonderful collection. Um,
Okay.
I want to also ask you, can you talk about some of your collaborative projects and the value of collaboration?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the first thing that comes to my head is thinking about my friend Mark Dutcher, who's an artist. And, in a way, these Percussing the Thinking Jar has like a big element of collaboration. As I was working on the book, I would send him poems, and then he started in response doing these beautiful sumi ink drawings, and then he would just text them to me, and and then I would get inspired, and I'd
Yes.
keep writing. And anyways, we went back and forth for like 2 years. and so he created the art on the cover art. And originally that the cover art was a painting, a realistic painting of me as Gertrude Stein, because I'm a
Wow.
Gertrude Stein fan. But then over time, he kept layering it with all these kind of colorful psychedelic dots, and that became the cover of the book. And so I do a lot of collaborations. I have a collaboration with Adrian de la Peña, who's another dear friend. And last summer, last year, uh, I I wanted to do a collaborative project that was fun and kind of low stress. And so I asked him if he wanted to do like just in real time collaborations. He lives in Southern California, so we did it through Zoom. And we just started writing back and forth. We chose photos on our phones. We took turns. We also took turns coming up with the forms. So, for example, it's like write an 8-syllable line or something like that, and then we'd both have to stick to our, rules that we came up with. And then we were just posting them, and we meet every Monday for only an hour. But then it sort of developed over this past year, and now we're featuring other collaborators and poets and artists, and it's just been a joy. It's been really fun.
It sounds excellent. And I wondered, have you ever thought of doing it as a live installation where you're both there at a time period? People come to watch that create. I would come. I would come to watch a creation, something being created out of his drawings and your poetry all being done at once. I think that would be so abstract and so Berkeley and just as well as New York. But it's you were so creative in that what you're doing, what a gift to have a collaborator of that quality.
No, I feel so grateful. I'm also, I do a lot of like one-on-one collaborations. I do one
Right.
with Lenore Weiss, who
Oh,
is a fiction writer
nice.
as well as a poet, and that has been wonderful. And my dear friend Chris Stropolino, we've been going back and forth. And I guess what the value I find in collaboration is that, together you are creating something new, and you're
Yes.
creating something that really could not be done alone. And I feel that you learn so much about your own process, about other people's processes, and that just that element of fun and play and wonder and experimentation. So I collaborate with musicians. My friend Evan Karp and I have a little duo called Bata and the Vine. And so for maybe I didn't mention this, but we did a musical version of Percussing the Thinking Jar.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have an album. It's called Thought Logs.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, so and then that was really fun. And it was we recorded like kind of the earlier versions of the Thought Logs. And so it's a little different, slightly different. So it's interesting. I mean, I haven't listened to it in a while, but they're the early versions of the Thought Logs so you can kind of see how they changed over time.
No, I would love to see that. That just sounds wonderful. Well, I have one more last question for you. It's what would you say to someone who is just starting to write and wants to be a part of a literary community?
Great question. I would say just jump in. Like, I am all for the DIY, ethos of just start a zine, invite your friends, start a writing group, start a
Right.
reading series, um, go to open mics and participate.
That's excellent.
Yeah, join writing groups, have writing partners. I mean, I feel like we are so lucky in the Bay Area, the SF Bay Area, to have so many poets and writers, as we know,
Yes,
in this area is so lucky, and so many people to do projects with. So I would say don't be shy, I think,
absolutely.
I mean, there's always that story of, oh, the writer just working alone all day, but there's so many opportunities to work together and create projects together, work with musicians and dancers, filmmakers.
And also to discover different parts of yourself. About 30 years ago, maybe between 25 and 30, I dragged one of my friends to a Penn Oakland Book Award ceremony. And she said, I can't go. I'll meet these people and I'll be so scared and I'll be so shy. Well, she met Maxine Hung Kingston, Marilyn Chin, and was so inspired by their stories. This is a person who had never written anything. She wrote a book about her life with her mother and received a major contract, a major contract. This is, like I said, this is a person who had never picked up the pen to write anything. But listening to these people being mentored by these extraordinary individuals. And so that's why I wanted to say it's important to go to these book awards, to writing events, because you don't know what has not yet come out of you. And
Yeah.
sometimes someone can be in the presence of someone like yourself, and all of a sudden they say to themselves, if she can do that, I can do that also, because I have a story to tell, or I have a poem to write.
Right.
And so whether you know it or not, you inspire people.
Oh.
And I think so many writers inspire people and
Well,
make.
I have to say, Kim, that I am inspired. You know, I feel so grateful. I feel, like grateful to the writers and artists and musicians who've inspired me. And it's just this ongoing, I don't know, like not circles so much, but it's just this energy that continues as we make. And I love that. I love that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me about your book and about your writing. You are inspiring. And I want to remind the people once again, if you'd like to see this brilliant author, Maw Shein Win, show up on Saturday, September 6th to the San Francisco Public Main Library on 100 Larkin at 2 p.m. And you're going to have a ball. Thank you. And thank you so much for being here today. Take
Thank
care.
you, Kim. Thank you so much.
Being with you is a delight.
Oh, same.